NFFC Live High Stakes Draft. Here we are. I thought I was on stage, but I'm not. But here I am now. So I wasn't going to do this live, but I put it together at the last second. So we're through 5 rounds. This is a night owl. Got to keep it going for the NFFC. Seems like there's a draft every single night now being streamed more so than ever. So we'll try to keep up the momentum. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing to the show. Follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. We're going to come back on the other side. We're going to break this entire draft down. I'm through, I was in the 12th spot, 3rd round reversal. I like my start so far. We'll see how I finish this up. Fantasy Savvy on X. Thanks for everybody for joining tonight. Ask anything you want in the chat. Let's go. Okay, so we are back, and we are in the 6th round now. I'm in the 12th spot. It's 3rd round reversal, so I got the first pick of the 3rd round. I started with the back-to-back, Chase Brown, Ashton Genty, and then I get Zay Flowers, and then I come back, and I like that Christian Watson fell to me. Always been a fan of Christian Watson. Haven't been getting a lot of him this year, so happy that I got him. Certainly like Jameson Williams a lot. Always like Zay Flowers. His price is more expensive than ever, but hopefully he can get those double-digit touchdowns. And then Chase Brown, that's my first share here in the NFFC. Same thing with Ashton Genty. Now I could have went James Cook, could have went Kenny Walker. I could have went AJ Brown or maybe Drake London. I actually probably would have taken Neighbors if he was still going around, but Duke starts with Chase, Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Terry, and then he gets 2 solid backs there in Bayshell, Tootin, and Jonathan Brooks. So nice start for him as well. But, I just felt like Zay Flowers Genty, it was my first share rather, and I was pretty happy with taking him there. Whether you take Walker or Cook, and I've been getting a lot of Cook lately, so I just wanted to mix it up. Again, we do a lot of these, so you want to mix it up. So we'll see, no tight ends yet. This is not tight end premium. If you're, new to the NFFC, I'm sure we got a bunch of the usuals in here, but, every once in a while we get some new people in here. So if you're new to the NFFC, it is a 1-point PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 flex, 1 kicker, 1 tight end, 1 defense, 6 points per passing touchdown. So that's a little bit different. And then you get the 3rd round reversal, like I mentioned earlier. First pick of the 3rd round goes back to me rather than the first team. It goes back to me in the 12th spot. And then it works its way back down again, goes back up, just like a regular snake draft. So yeah, these night owls have been filling. Last night there was freaking 2 night owls. I jumped in one last night. It was the second one. I was watching Nelson's show, and some guy went in there and said we need 4 more. So I'm like, all right, I'll jump in. And these night owls are, ever since training camp started, maybe a little bit before then, they're really just going nuts, especially on the weekends too. People have more time on the weekends. So, the night owls have been filling very nicely. And especially when you get in 2 night owls, I think that draft last night ended at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was a late one. So far, team 1, Bijan, George Pickens, DJ Moore, Javonte, Rome Odunze, Quinshawn Judkins. So, I like all 3 of those receivers. Obviously, Bijan's a little bit different than going Gibbs, but you're splitting hairs there pretty much. I actually do prefer Bijan. It's just that when you have that one spot, Gibbs goes all the time at the one spot. So when you get the one spot, you kind of want to take Gibbs. Otherwise, you're not really gonna be able to get him. But sometimes he falls to the 2 spot. All right, I'm coming back up here. So I have a little 2-3 zone going right now. 2 running backs, 3 receivers. Back on the clock for 2 more. There goes Michael Wilson. He's been moving up boards. I guess people maybe are excited about Carson Beck. I've been drafting a lot of Michael Wilson. Also like the Cornell Tate pick there late. There goes Lamar. Um, hmm. You know what? I'm going to take another running back here because the running backs are going to get eaten up. And again, after Dobbins, it kind of falls off. Could take another receiver here, but honestly, I'm not really crazy about any of these receivers. I'll take Jalen Warren. I mean, he's going to be like a receiver in himself. No more Kenny Gainwell. I mean, if you remember the Steelers' offense down the stretch last year, it was like the Kenny Gainwell show. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is getting older. He doesn't want to get hit. He's going to be dumping off to his running backs, and Jalen Warren should be the biggest beneficiary of the Gainwell departure. And then the question is, do I want to pump up this one player here who I keep missing out on? So, I mean, I could probably get him in round 8. Maybe take another receiver here, but again, I mean, I could go for Jordan Tyson. I've been taking so much Alec Pierce, but I don't know who the hell knows when he's coming back. We'll talk about him in a minute. So you know what? I mean, it's about time this guy gets pushed up. I'm just gonna take him. Harold Fannin, 7th round. I mean, you see him go like 9th round sometimes. I've like early, a couple weeks ago going like 10th, 11th round. So I think that's kind of where he should be in the 7th round. So I'm just going to take him. Tucker Kraft, certainly a solid pick there as well. You could wait for Laporta, which is very nice. I'm just a Fannin guy, man. I just like Harold Fannin a lot. Loved him coming out of college last year. And I mean, he's a force, man. You give him the ball, he breaks tackles. He's got great hands, great around the end zone. So, I think we're going to start seeing him move up a little bit more. But again, that pocket with like him, Kraft, and Laporta kind of sits there, and everybody kind of waits for the first guy to take the first one, and then they kind of fly off. It's usually Kraft or Fannin, and then Laporta goes. Obviously, Laporta. They're all great values, and again, you can wait on tight end if you don't want to jump into the Loveland sweepstakes. The Trey McBride, Bowers, Tyler Warren sweepstakes. Then you get great values with Harry Fannin, Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft. So I know could have took another receiver there, but I'm going to put Jalen Warren in my flex. And then, again, I like a lot of these late round receivers. Obviously you got to hit on them. It's almost like playing 0 running back at receiver when you're trying to guess with some of these receivers. But you just stack a lot of them and hopefully a couple of them hit. You rely on, the guys that stand out to you that you watch, the guys you believe in, and then hopefully they hit during the year. You only need a couple of them. I like my first 3 receivers. So, I got plenty of time. And again, I've drafted a million things of Alec Pierce. I could have went to Jordan Tyson, but he's a rookie. He's a little bit unknown. Obviously, we like that offense with Kellen Moore. He's a nice prospect for sure, along with Chris Olave. Nice pace in the offense. So, could have went there. Could have went Pittman. Nice report actually with. And I've taken some Pittman. I never take Pittman, but I feel like if you're going to be Michael Pittman, this is probably the year. That's kind of what everybody and their mother's saying. So maybe DK, steps over Pittman. It just seems to make more sense, the Rodgers-Pittman connection. And, they had a connection today in practice where Pittman supposedly turned around at the perfect time and Rodgers hit him and Rodgers gave him the thumb up. And that's what you want to see from Rodgers. You want to see him give him the thumb up rather than the middle finger, because you get on Rodgers' wrong side. doesn't end up well for you nowadays on the field. And there goes Tony P and Michael Pittman back to back. Anybody watching the show got any NFC guys or in my fantasy savvy guys? You guys are watching? Want to hop on with me at some point? Jump in the chat. I could send you the link. I know Joe said he's going to bed. Just did a nice auction there on the Sports Affiliation show with him and Billy and Gamberg. Gamberg is actually in this draft with me right now. He ends up taking Jordan Tyson, and he goes Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Ted Aroa. And then he gets David Montgomery, Rachaad White, Jordan Tyson. So, I mean, that's the way he's splashing receivers. I'm not a big tech guy. I have no issue. And, I have some questions about Jefferson in the first round just because of Kyler Murray. But certainly it could work out. I mean, O'Connell's offense has worked for Josh Dobbs, and he resurrected Darnold's career, and we saw Carson Wentz actually look pretty admirable. It was really just McCarthy. There was that other quarterback too. They had the kid from BYU, Jaron Hall. I think he was terrible too. I remember McCarthy was getting some shit. Not McCarthy. O'Connell was getting some shit because he had Nick Mullins in there. Nick Mullins was good in that offense too. And then he took out Nick Mullins and he put in Jared Hall, and Jared Hall was terrible. So, I mean, most quarterbacks are going to succeed in the system. And you have Jefferson, you have Addison, Hawkinson's. But you bring in Juwan, you lose Naylor, but you bring in Juwan Jennings. Hawkinson's still pretty solid. He's getting no respect in these drafts, but still got a pretty decent backfield. The key is also Christian Darrisaw, their superstar tackle. Like, he was hurt all the time last year, and their offense is just similar like with the Niners. Like, if he's not out there, their offense does not operate the same. So he said he's feeling better than ever. So that's a good sign. I'm just, I don't know. I feel like people are still going in. Like, people have been burnt by Kyler Murray for the past, 3 seasons. And, Jacoby Brissett basically just, a guy who was a journeyman quarterback. He basically totally unseated Kyler Murray. So now everybody's kind of buying into this Kyler Murray coming into Minnesota and making everything hunky-dory. I just don't, I don't know. So that's why I have my qualms about Jefferson in the first round. I would, it's going to be tough for me to grab him there. Maybe in the 12th spot, I could do it and like take him the first pick of the second round. I don't mind doing that because he is such an unbelievable player, and you don't want to have no Justin Jefferson. But AJ Brown, love that. He's still a bully. I don't think he's the best separator anymore, but it doesn't really matter. You just kind of throw it up to him and he bullies guys out, and he can still, get that yak, and still a good red zone presence. And then Devonta is going to be the number one, a little bit of a hammy injury, but got plenty of time to recover. Ted Aroa, I get a little bit concerned about him because, I don't know, Coker, I feel like he might be the better value. David Montgomery seems like a no-brainer. He's got the star role there. The Texans' offensive line should be much better this year. You just hope that C.J. Stroud could play a little bit better. But, Woody Marks is in the way. But, I think Montgomery's going to catch the ball. It's not hard to catch a 3-yard pass. It's not like Woody Marks is running great routes out there. So, Rachaad White, I have some qualms about him. I think maybe JCM or, Katron Allen could possibly, eat into his work a little bit. But certainly he has the leg up there, and he has history with Daniels going back to Arizona State. Herm Edwards, play to win the game, was there as the coach. J.K. Dobbins, good pick. After Dobbins, I feel like the running backs just fall off a cliff, in my opinion. So, I prefer Dobbins. I don't know why people take Rico Dowdle ahead of Dobbins. That doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like Dobbins is the starter in Denver. Again, I guess people just think he's going to get hurt again. So I can understand it. I can't. But I'd much rather have Dobbins But after Dobbins, it kind of falls off. So I like that he grabbed him there. And then he gets Jordan Tyson, who certainly could have a very nice year. All right. I'm back up on the clock. I didn't even strategize at all here. Babbling too much. But, we got a minute to figure it out. So it's not a big deal. All right. So I only have 3 receivers. And this is a kid I like. I haven't been getting a lot of them. All the reports have been pretty positive. Xavier Worthy, man, the guy is I don't know. I keep passing him up. All right, I'm going to take Jaden Higgins to be my 4th receiver. Again, hopefully CJ Stroud could turn things around, but I like Jaden Higgins. It's just what, 2nd year now? Yeah, or 3rd year? 2nd year, right? So he should get better this year. I haven't been getting any of them. Now the question is, do I want to go after Xavier Worthy, who I always kind of liked? I just don't know. I just don't know if him and Mahomes really fit each other. I don't know. I kind of want to snatch another running back here too, even though I have 3. I just feel like you know what? Let's do it. Let's get Kenny Gainwell there. Again, the receivers, I have a lot of Casey Concepcion. I've been taking a little bit of Dobbs. I don't trust Murray, so I don't need to go after Addison. I don't really trust Worthy. I've been taking some Shakir. I've been taking some Coker. I don't care. I mean, I could find other guys here. I could have went quarterback there, I guess, with Herbert maybe, but I don't have anything to stack them with. And there's plenty of quarterbacks to chase, so I'm not in a rush. I'd rather just take another running back off the board from the field. I could have took Harvey, I guess, or Chuba. But I think I'm playing it like Chuba's going to get replaced by Brooks at some point, and Harvey certainly could have a better second season. He was kind of a little up and down. He didn't really look as impressive as I thought he would. Now he could be better in his second year, but they do draft Jonah Coleman. If J.K. Dobbins lives up to his promise that he's going to play a full season, that's going to hurt Harvey as well. I just kind of like Gainwell, what he did last year. I thought he was very impressive. Now he's going to be in a backfield. He's behind Bucky, and you got Sean Tucker in the mix. But it's just a depth piece because you're just planning for injuries. I mean, injuries could happen. I mean, these guys get hurt all the freaking time. So it's just a depth piece. I always kind of like to have a nice little I like to have like 4 most of the time I like to have 4 like solid running backs. I don't like to have question marks at the running back position. So that's kind of the way I built it. And it was kind of it was always what was on the board as well. As far as the receivers, Concepcion's very interesting. I do like him a lot. Coker's nice too, but we'll see if one of them falls back. And I could whatever. Shaheed's fine. There's some other guys I could grab as well. So let's take a look at the board here. And again, appreciate everybody for tuning in. We got tons of shows going, tons of live drafts all the way up to the season starts. Monday night, Dan and Josh doing a good job every single Monday. They're going to have another couple nice guests coming Monday. We got the tag team draft next week. They're going to be with all the high stakes guys they're going to be doing on the channel. Joe and I are getting thrown off, and we're doing on sports affiliation, but you give it to Dan and Josh because they put this tournament together. It was their idea, so a lot of work, a lot of effort went into it, and so that's gonna be great. Looking forward to that Wednesday night on this channel, and then Thursday night we've been doing the division previews. Last night we did the NFC West, so check that out. Me, Joey Brown, and Joe Carlton. So next week we'll do the AFC West, and then we'll finish up with the NFC East and the AFC East. And we do March Madness breakdowns, little NBA drafts. I think we're going to do soon for NFFC. I think we're going to do some NBA best ball drafts. We're going to stream that as well. We're trying to incorporate all the sports here. Shout out to Fantasy Postseason where we run the NCAA drafts. We'll try to live stream one of those maybe. FantasyPostseason.com, like the only site where you can play postseason tournaments. So you can put your own league together. You could play a March Madness tournament. You could play an NFL playoffs tournament. The NFL playoffs is great. We'll do one of those as well when the playoffs come around. So that's sort of those are the things you could look forward to if you're a new subscriber or you're just checking the channel out for the first time. All right, so there goes Worthy. There goes Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Again, everybody's kind of assuming it's Rachaad White's job, but I don't know how. I don't really like taking. I mean, I feel like if he was my flex or my third, maybe my fourth. If he was like my fourth running back, I'd feel a bit better. But third running back's not bad, I guess. I mean, he could. I don't know. I just never really liked Rachaad White, but I don't know. Maybe just my biases. I got everybody has their certain biases on certain guys, and he's been getting kind of lucky with the backfields he's had. And then Bucky kind of usurped him, knocked him out of the way. And, it's not like the backfield he's there now. I mean, Krosky Merritt, he's got a rookie in Katron Allen. They get Jerome Ford. Who knows? I mean, Jerome Ford, he's kind of like a dump down merchant too. So I don't know if he's going to have any presence in there, but it sounds like it's Rachaad White. Again, he has the history with Jaden Daniels. He's just not my cup of tea. There goes Dalton Kincaid and Kelsey back to back. Interesting. Kelsey went in front of Kincaid. But hey, Kelsey's got he's a Hall of Famer. So it's just, people like this, the younger guy, chase the upside. So I get it. I don't know how much Kelsey really has left, but still could be really solid for fantasy. But he has McBride. Did he need to take Kelsey there? I don't know. I mean, I guess it could work out, but there goes Marshawn Lloyd. He's been a popular pick amongst the NFFC community. This guy, obviously, we know him as Mr. Glass, can just gets hurt all the time, but supposedly he's healthy. Nothing, no new reports, so it sounds like he's okay. We don't know what's going to happen with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is a little bit banged up, hasn't been in practice, so could work out. No more Emmanuel Wilson. I still think they have Chris Brooks there in the backfield, right? There in Green Bay. And we're coming back up again. So we'll talk about Alec Pierce in a minute. Oh, look at this. Casey Concepcion falls into my lap. Very nice. See, sometimes, you just let the draft come to you. You don't have to worry about things too much. And look, I get the player I want. Guy goes after Shaheed and Coker, so whatever. I would have been fine taking any one of those guys. Denzel Boston too. I don't know. I just feel like Conception's more my style of player. Although I gotta finish my full evaluation on Boston. I just don't know how much. I don't know if his game translates as much to the NFL as Concepcion's, in my opinion. Who the hell did I just take? Oh, Herbert. I didn't really want that pick, but I didn't even mean to do that. You know what though? It's fine actually. I don't even mind it. I'm just gonna keep it because it's my first share of him. I have nothing to go with him, but it's not a big deal. I like the value there. It's fine. It's funny. Justin Herbert seems to just like end up on my teams randomly in some of these drafts. There was another draft that Joe and I did, FFPC, and we ended up with Justin Herbert by accident, and he ended up being our best quarterback. So it's kind of what I was going with there. So hopefully it works out. And there is. I probably should have, maybe. Well, I'm not going to say it, but we'll figure it out. It's all good. We like it. We like it. So yeah, that's my first share of Herbert. I haven't been. I've taken Quentin Johnston a few times, but I haven't got Herbert with him. And I haven't. After taking Lad everywhere his first and second year, I don't have one share of Lad. I got to start taking him soon, but I don't know. With Quentin there, and I don't know. Maybe I got to rethink that. I don't know why I'm not more in on Lad. It's just weird because I think he's a hell of a player too. What am I missing there? I mean, it's QJ. There's no one with Keenan Allen. Trey Harris is there. Mike McDaniels doesn't really use the tight ends that much. Oh, he did use Jono a ton. But I mean, he had Gesicki all those years. He didn't use him. But I think the reason he used Jonnu so much was because freaking Tua. I mean, I think part of that was Tua just dumping down all the time. It was so frustrating because you had Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, and you're dumping down to swing 19,000 swing passes to Achan and little dump offs to Jonnu, which is Jonnu's good at. You get him, delayed routes, and you give him like a head of steam. That's kind of what his skill set was. And it's funny. Me and Pete Nova had a bet on Jonnu's touchdowns that year. I think we bet it was like 6 or 7. And I think Jonnu ended up having. I think we bet 6.5 was the total. I think he had 7 or 8. But then that was the only season Jonnu ever had a good season. But yeah. So back to Lad. Like I think I'm skittish because I got burnt so bad last year. My kids are coming in. They go back to school Monday, so they're staying up late every single night. But they're back in school Monday here in Florida. They go back early. They get out early though. They get out Memorial Day. So looking forward to that though. They need to get back in school. Let me just close this door. Kids listening on the show. I got to get them starting to do some fantasy football draft soon. I started, I think, when I was in 8th grade, so they still got time. My oldest is in sixth grade. Then I have another one going in the 4th grade, and then my youngest daughter is 5, so she's going into kindergarten. But anyway, back to Lad McConkey. Yeah, I got burnt by him last year because I drafted him so much. Coming off his rookie year, I loved him so much. And I'm just skittish now. Same thing with Brian Thomas, but I've actually, dipped my toes in a little bit with Brian Thomas. But all the reports are, man, it's like Parker Washington and Lawrence. Parker Washington and Lawrence. It just seems like that's the connection. It's like a Monra and Jared Goff. Brian Thomas, I think, I feel like he might be just a better pick to take in best ball rather than redraft. He might be a little bit frustrating in redraft. You still got Jacoby Myers, you still got Strange. They still want to run the ball. Travis Hunter's going to be mixing in. Like, how much really can is any one of the like Thomas is never going to have that rookie season he had, and I don't think he really until Lawrence shows us what he could do with Brian Thomas. I need to see it. He just hasn't had that connection with Brian Thomas yet, and I know they're working on, and all the reports are great, but I just I got to see it first. And he's another guy that I love too. All right. So Let's see what falls to me here. So pretty so, we're getting some new names in these in this room tonight. Some of these some of the NFFC guys I'm sure know these guys better than me. But obviously I know Duke and Gamberg. But the rest of the names, Frost, I think he's a FFWC guy. So with the merger now, maybe there's a couple more FFWC guys in here. I actually want to do the Circa. I do like FFWC's extra flex there. So they have 3 receivers. They have 2 more positions, 3 receivers, or is it 1 more receiver? I think it's 3 receivers and 2 flex in FFWC. So yeah, you could start 5 receivers, 4 running backs, or 3 tight ends in that format. So they have the Circa and the prime time, and if you win both, you win $1 million. So might as well take a shot on it. And I did pretty good in FFWC. It was actually my best, amongst the high stakes sites is where I did best. Last couple of years, I finished top 20 in their Circa Las Vegas Championship, which is their 350. Basically the same thing as this, the OC. So, yeah, I like their format. All right. And it's I like that they NFFC kind of brought them over here. And they also extended the fab time to 11 p.m., which I like, from 10 to 11. All right, perfect. So, we took Herbert, and there's a receiver sitting there, Trey Harris, who's also going to be in his second season. Another Ole Miss guy. Actually, we were talking about that with Joey Brown last night. We were talking about Stribling, who I keep missing out on all these freaking drafts. I want to take Stribling. I'm just going to have to go reach for him. But Trey Harris is an Ole Miss guy too. Ole Miss, A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, Stribling, Trey Harris. So we're going to take Trey Harris here. Everybody else forgive me for taking the clock up. I take my time, man. I just want to, I'm babbling over here, but I just want to think about my next pick here after Trey Harris. We have 4 running backs, 5 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 quarterback. We got a little mini stack here. Nah. You know what? I never take this guy, but Joey Brown told me to do it the other night. But why not? I'm gonna take Jared Goff. I have Jameson Williams, so I get that stack too. I don't know why I'm so opposed to taking Jared Goff. I just, I don't know. I like the running quarterbacks. I like the guys that can move. And I just feel like Goff has been very fortunate to be able to sit behind that offensive line that just protects him so well. And anytime he gets pressure, he just completely collapses. Which, obviously, if the Lions' offensive line, it's like, the Game of Thrones. It's like the wall there. If the freaking wall goes down, the whole freaking thing is just going to collapse for the Lions. If that, offensive line doesn't start protecting Goff. The running game's going to suffer. Goff's not going to be under pressure. But I mean, they have such a good system there, even with Ben Johnson leaving. Goff at home, they got Gibbs. The offensive line is still solid. They still, some of the best, players on the O line, and JMO and St. Brown's a nice combo, and Tesla's nice, and you got Laporta, so tons of weapons. The offense should still be very nice. So I don't know. I always just think myself out of Goff. Um, you know, did I really need to take him there? Not really, but again, I'm not crazy about anything that's really on the board here. And I've taken a lot, I've taken all these guys already, so but again, you're playing in these tournaments, weeks 15, week 16, week 17. You want to condense things. So if JMO goes off and I don't take Goff there, then I'm starting Herbert. Then I need Herbert to go off that same week. But if JMO goes off, then Goff's going to go off. So it just all correlates and makes things work better for you. It just simplifies things, and that's kind of why you want to get the stacks. The Trey Harris is a secondary stack, obviously, but you're just hoping that maybe Trey Harris at some point, and he's gonna work in 3 wide receiver sets. You're just hoping Trey Harris at some point can kind of be a consistent option. And obviously, if there's an injury to either Quentin or Ladd, then he's gonna have a nice role there. So, that's what you get. Historically, I'm a Josh Allen guy. It's just the problem is you got to, I got to reach for Allen there in the 3rd round, which is what I did last night with an Allen stack. Unless you're, kind of where Team 7 was, then you can kind of get Allen in the 4th. Once in a while, I guess he'll fall into the 5th, but that's kind of rare. You just love having Josh Allen because you just put him out there every week, and he's just, he could have. We've seen it before. He has those 3 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, or 3 rushing touchdowns, 5 touchdown total games. And 300 total yards, and it just it gives us a 35, 40-point fantasy. It just elevates your game. And you have down weeks at your running back or tight end, wide receiver position. You just picks up your whole team. And you don't have to ever guess when you're drafting 2 quarterbacks. You don't have to guess. It's like Parcells said, when you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. So you just put Allen in there and you just leave it be. But you got to pay the premium. And there's some nice players there when Allen goes. So the 3rd round, I don't think I'll ever take him there again. Maybe one more time, but if I want to get him, I'm gonna have to take him in the 4th. I like where Drake May went, actually. The 8th round is great. I mean, to me, he's man, look at Malik Willis going. Malik Willis starting to jump up the board a little bit. I think because people aren't seeing any negative reports about Malik Willis. I remember doing some of these early. He wasn't even being drafted. I was snatching him 17th, 18th round. Now he's jumping in sometimes some of these drafts into the 14th. Wow, the quarterbacks just flew off. Even Cam Ward, he usually falls. He goes a little early there. So, wow, I took Goff, and then the freaking quarterbacks just went nuts. I could have went Jordan Love there too, but I honestly, I didn't expect Jordan Love to be taken that early because he kind of falls. All these freaking quarterbacks, that was an insane run on quarterbacks. All right. Well, the quarterbacks just got completely hammered right there. So still only have 1 tight end in Harry Fannin. So could go back there too. Gaston makes sense with Herbert, right? I'm not a Gaston guy, but Charlie Kohler, what the? He's like, and there's not a lot of guys there. I mean, he's one of the best receiving options, and he had a nice little stretch there last year with the Chargers before their offensive line completely fell off. This kid Brennan Thompson's actually pretty good too that they drafted the Chargers. He's somebody to watch out for in the waiver wire this year, I think, or in dynasty, um, or in like a deeper best ball. Lambert Smith, he hasn't really done anything. Darius Davis, he shows some flashes every once in a while. They still do have Njoku. Actually, I totally forgot about that. So that could be concerning. And Gaston goes anyway. So all right. Wait. Hoff has contacted the admin for help. So we got a delay here. Maybe Gatson. Oh, Gatson was an auto pick. All right. So now I got to think about Gadsden again. It makes sense in the build. There's a couple ways I can go here. Still waiting for this to be rectified. Wouldn't let me pick. Was trying to draft Ray Davis. I don't know. Wouldn't let me pick. I don't know. I don't know. This software doesn't. It lets you pick. So maybe it's who knows. Maybe his computer froze. Who knows? Either way, when you do get a mispick, the NFFC does a great job. As long as you contact them early enough, they'll take your pick off the board. They'll give you the guy you want. You just got to do it, right away. You can't be doing like 3-4 picks down the line and make them back turn all those picks. All right, so yeah, Arande Gadsden is back on the board. The first pick I'm going to take here is Tesla because I have JMO. So I think that makes sense. 4 reserve players left. Still only have 1 tight end. I'm not a Arande Gadsden guy. It does fit the build. I could go Kamani Vidal to go with Herbert as well. I do like the way Vidal played down the stretch last year. I do like Katron Allen coming out of Penn State. I think he's a nice prospect, and it might take him a while, but I feel like he might show out a little bit. And there hasn't really been any reports on him that I remember. I don't know. Gaston just reminds me of Jared Cook too much. But Jared Cook had 1-2 good years, right? Oh, God. All right. Just take Gaston. Fits the build. So, you got some guys in this draft that, I don't really usually take, but like Goff. But again, I have JMO. I get Tesla, so that makes sense. And then I get Gadsden, and I have Trey Harris. So I have a secondary stack there with Justin Herbert. And then maybe Vidal falls to me later. We'll see. But Njoku's there too, man. Njoku's a good player, just can't stay healthy. I mean, it's not his fault. Harry Fanning came in and erased him. Harry Fanning's a stud. So I mean, I at this point in their careers, I could have took Terrence Ferguson there. That's a guy that I usually take. That's a nice pick. I've had a lot of him. Gamberg snatches him up. So that's a good pick too. But again, just trying to fit the stack here and fit the build a little bit. And again, you don't have to do that. I could have went Ferguson. I didn't really have to take Tesla. I think I'm taking Tesla more so because I think that pick makes a little bit more sense. Like I think Tesla makes sense, but the Gadsden, I didn't really have to do that. So looking at the board here now, team one. I think he did a good job with his running backs. He gets Bijan. He backs him up without Brian Robinson and his former backup in Tyler Algier, who certainly could have a role in Arizona, similar to what Algier did with Bijan in his rookie year. Had a nice little role early on, and similar to Jeremiah Love. So I think he did a pretty good job. I'm not a big Quinchon guy, but Javante's pretty solid. I mean, he's boring as hell, but he's in a great offense. And, he had a career year last year, so I don't see why that changes. There's nobody really that's a threat to him. He's completely different than any other running back there. I guess you could say Phil Maffa is a little bit like him. Jaden Blue's kind of, the scat back there. But Javante's got he's got the grip on that job for sure. I like the receivers. Adunze as your third receiver is solid. And you get Pierce, who has a ton of upside. Still got to talk about him. Wandale. You get Kittle, Juwan Johnson. Okay, it's not a terrible backup. And maybe he chases one more tight end there. I don't really like Kyler. Not crazy about him at quarterback. He gets a little mini stack there with Kyler and Juwan Jennings, but he has the Dak Pickens stack. Team two, Gibbs. Then he goes 4 straight receivers. Nico, to me, I get a little skittish about him in the second round. Had never had double-digit touchdowns. Gets hurt every single year, but still a very good receiver. And I can't hate on it too much. And then Ladd, we talked about him. I got to start trying to snatch him up a little bit more. So, and the T in the fourth is nice. Marv as your fourth receiver, I don't hate it. Although I prefer Michael Wilson at the discount. Although Wilson's starting to get closer to Harrison. Kyle Pitts, nice year last year. But a lot of that was with Drake London off the field. I still think he's going to be somewhat inconsistent. And again, there's some other things. We'll talk about that later. Blake Corum, fairly solid as your second RB, but him and Mason is not really strong. Rodriguez, but he's taking some shots with some secondary guys that he knows are at least going to get work at running back between Rodriguez, Pacheco, and Helani. Helani looks like he's going to have a role right off the bat. Drake May, there's no stack there, but you take Drake May in the 8th round. I like that a lot. I mean, he's a runner, so you could take him naked, and when you get the value on it, it's absolutely fine. Mayfield, no stack there either, but not a bad backup. Kenny Sadiq, I don't know. He's got that hernia surgery now, so I don't really know what he's going to do as a rookie. I probably would have tried to get a stronger, maybe a different pick at tight end there, but Duke goes, love Duke's start. Even, did he need to take Godwin there in the 7th? Maybe not, but still a pretty solid pick. And then he gets Ramondre, so he's got 3 solid running backs there. I mean, like to start with the running backs. He gets Trevor Lawrence with 2 in there. So he's got the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity, the old high-op commercials. Dallas Goedert, nice pick. Great value at tight end this year. But Duke's obviously the guy won the freaking Silver Bullet, the most prestigious fantasy football tournament in my eyes. So you win the Silver Bullet, you're absolute stud. This guy takes Kamani Vidal from me right before. That sucked. The question is now, do we go Dalton Schultz or do we go TJ? No, Dalton Schultz, man. That's the Duke's been taking him late. I'm going to go back to running back here. We got Gainwell. So what the hell's going on here? We got Gainwell. I was tripping out. This owl's got me tripping out a little bit. I'm like clicking on the guy. Where the hell's the draft name? We got Gainwell, so we get Sean Tucker. And then Do I want to take a tight end here, or do I want to take this receiver that I've taken a million times? 1, 2, 3. I think I got enough receivers. Do I need to take another tight end? I got Harry Fannin, man. I mean, Dalton Schultz, he's solid for what he is, but I don't know. He is just all right. Let's go with this kid again. I can't. I keep drafting Zachariah Branch, and actually, sometimes he goes a little bit earlier, 15th round sometimes. So I like the value there. All right, but back to Duke's team. So yeah, he gets Goddard, which I like a lot. Jalen Blue, a lot of people are chasing him as having a nice role this year with the boys. He gets Jordan Love. Yeah, no stack there. Jalen Naylor, nice pick. And then he goes Broncos D and Chargers kicker Dicker the kicker. Team 4, Puka Achane, Olave Waddle. Okay, nice. Then he gets Swift and Price. Nice. Makai Lemon, who's got the hammy, but he seems healthy. Should have brought my blue light glasses out tonight. Maybe that's why I'm tripping on the screen. Too much light I'm looking at. I was at the car dealership earlier today getting my oil changed, and I did 2 best balls. I'm like staring at the screen the whole time, waiting for like an hour and a half. And then I'm like, they had all these bright ass lights in the dealership. Now I'm still looking at lights. The blue light glasses are solid, especially, once it turns midnight. Helps, just rest the eyes a little bit. Forgot to put them on, but all good. But and nice start for team 4. He gets Tucker Kraft, no other tight end yet. And then I like what he did at quarterback. Did he have to take 3 quarterbacks? Yeah, I guess you could say Wills could be a question mark, but he takes Shuck, he takes Wills, and then he takes Darnold. Solid 30 touchdowns last year. So Darnold had a hell of a year. Then he gets Krosky, who could earn a job. Bigsby, he's a popular handcuff right now. Yeah, I like it. Just needs to grab another tight end. Team 5 goes JSN, Henry Brees, Loveland. Oh, I got to start getting some Loveland. I haven't been taking him. You got to take him in the 4th. Parker, Quentin. Then he doesn't take another receiver till round 16. So that's kind of risky. Yeah, I don't know. He's got 4 quarterbacks. I don't know what's going on here. He took Mahomes, Knicks, Ward. Yeah, I don't know if that was an auto pick, but you got Caleb. You don't need 4 quarterbacks or 5 quarterbacks. 5 quarterbacks. Oh my God. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. Hawkins, I don't know what you're doing, bro. You don't need 5. You need more receivers, man. But I don't know. Hey, maybe it works out for him. Bold strategy, as they say. Bold strategy, Cotton. Typical meme that we always see. Yeah. Every once in a while you get these owls. You get a team built like this. And he's got 3 unbelievable tight ends too. Laporta, Likely, Loveland. But the receivers. The first 3 are solid, but he has no depth. And you put Loveland, you could put Laporta or Likely in your flex. So I don't know. It's just a little all over the place. And the quarterbacks is just crazy. All right, team 6, CMC, London, McBride, ETN, Trevion. ETN, he's being shit on again. But he's going to be the guy over Kamara. So, and he's in a great offense. Henderson, I'm not a big Henderson guy, but you're chasing these tournaments. You're planning on him taking, learning and getting better. And by maybe second half of the year, he's exploding. So I get it. I'm just not in on him. Dowdle, I'm not a big fan. Emmett Johnson, I don't really like either. So yeah. Sutton, I'm not drafting him. Pittman's kind of boring. Debo. Yeah, I don't know. This team. They didn't really have to take Kelsey. He took him. Yeah, not my favorite there. So team 5 and team 6, not my favorites. Team 7, St. Brown, Bowers, Kyron, Allen, Bucky, Thomas, Pollard, Reed. So he's got Brown, Thomas, and Reed. I don't know. He's kind of a little over the place too. I mean, you got Josh Allen. I mean, all these quarterbacks are going. It makes sense. You need a second quarterback, but especially when freaking Tua is going. Tua never gets drafted. I mean, running backs aren't bad. The receivers are they're a little too spread out again. First round, sixth round, eighth round. Yeah, you'd like to see them bunched up a little bit closer there. Team 8, Taylor, Barkley, Rice, Burden, Jacobs, Tate, Downs. Okay. So oh shit. I'm on the clock. My bad. Last positional pick. Shit. Let's take Steelers defense. And then I think we have plenty of receivers. Probably could use another running back. But there's not much really out there. Emmanuel Wilson, James Conner, maybe. I could take Gunnar Helm. I take this kid again. All right. Where the hell were we? Team 7. I don't know, team 8, sorry. Yeah, I think this is a good build here. He's got 4 solid receivers. He's got 3 solid running backs. He gets Jaden Daniels and Jackson Dart, so 2 runners. He also throws in Keaton Mitchell, Katron Allen. I like that. Keenan Allen, I mean, he could be good for a couple of weeks at the beginning of the year. I'm not really into him, but we'll see where he ends up. Maybe he's got a nice little role. Travis Hunter, I think, is an upside play. Brenton Strange, Ferguson, not a bad combo. Hawkinson, it seems like he's way past his prime, but with the injuries kind of held him back. But maybe he has a resurgence with Kyler Murray. Maybe he's Kyler Murray's number 1 receiver. I mean, who knows? I mean, McBride was his number 1 receiver. So, maybe he has a tough time getting the ball to the receivers and he just dumps down to Hawkinson all the time. I don't know. Anything is possible, as Kevin Garnett said. All right, team 9. Gamberg, Jefferson, Brown, Devonta, Tet, Montgomery, White, Tyson, Dobbins, Hurts gets the stack. Lloyd, solid. Andrew, solid. Dylan Sampson, solid. Aubrey, okay. Damon Claiborne, very popular pick amongst the NFFC fellas. Betting on an Aaron Jones injury. Terrence Ferguson, another good pick. He gets Tonjes, who should fill in the beginning. DeMarcado could, have a little bit of role there. in KC. Gets Bryce Young, who gives you some good weeks. Dontavian Wicks, favorite of the show. Shout out to Joey Brown. So yeah, Gamberg, very nice draft. Always builds a good team. Very, very solid. Definitely took advantage of some of the guys in front of him with some of these wonky builds. I mean, some of us did, all of us kind of, some of us took advantage of that. Team 10, Hampton, Cook, Love. Again, I'm not a big Love guy. I don't believe in Hampton in the first round either. I need to see it from Hampton before I, invest in a guy in the first round. But it's all there. The McDaniel system, the way Hampton has that speed, you give him that, you get him through a hole, give him that head of steam, and he's hard to tackle, and he'll run past the defense. I mean, that's Hampton's strength. I think sometimes he goes down a little bit too easy. He's not the most agile guy. You got Keaton Mitchell and Vidal, who, again, I liked what Vidal did last year. Keaton Mitchell kind of fits the system too. So is it going to be somewhat of a committee? That is possible. Hampton to get hurt last year. Maybe they want to keep him fresher. I just don't, I got to see it first. I don't think he should be in the first round. James Cook in the second round when he goes in the first, very nice. So he fell a little bit here. Jeremiah Love, again, maybe it works out in the second half of the year. I think maybe the first half might be a little bit frustrating, but it's not, compared to where Genty was going in the first round, you only have to pay a third round price for him. So it's just, and then Connor could be out of the way. Trey Benson might be gone. He might be gone before the season starts, but Connor's still got to get healthy anyway. And then it just be him and Algier, but and the offense should be able to move the football. And we saw last year. It's just, is Brissett going to throw to him a lot, with Michael Wilson and Harrison and McBride? And then is he going to have the goal line carries without Gio there? So, I mean, that's my concern with Love. I haven't been taking him. And I'm a Notre Dame guy, and, I love playing with him in college football. And I don't know. I feel like Jarian Price might be the better value 3 rounds later. I really do. And I'm not going to come out and say it fully yet, but he might have a better career too, Price. It's possible. Then he takes Evans as his first receiver, gets Warren, gets Jackson. So he does the tight end quarterback combo. Metcalf, Golden, Diggs, Coker. So, and Stribling, who I like. So he doesn't have the strongest receiver room, but I do like some of the picks he took at receiver with Coker and Golden and Stribling, and even Tank Dell late, I think, is solid. Mike Washington, actually, if I was thinking a little bit deeper and harder about this draft here, I probably would have taken Mike Washington to pair with Genty. Seems like there could be a little bit of a combo there between those two guys. Let me just take this kicker and then get the hell out of here. But, Genty was talking about how they have a nickname like this, Washington's this guy, I'm this guy. So, Kubiak did that last year with Walker and Charbonnet. So, Genty's, he's going to be the main guy there. Obviously, he's a stud, but Washington's pretty good. He might be a little bit of a thorn to Genty. It's possible. He might have a nice little role there. There goes James Conner. Good pick. So yeah, another nice pick there for Hoff there, team 10. Again, the receivers and Hampton and Love. I'm not in love, but overall, I think it could work. Team 11. Let me take my kicker and then we'll finish this up. Let's go with the altitude kicker. Denver. I don't even know who the hell their kicker is, but I'm just this is an altitude pick. All right, switch it up. I've been taking a lot of actually Borgalis is gone, but all right, we'll finish up with team 11. And then we'll get to mine. We'll wrap this baby up and get out of here. Oh shit. How come I didn't see anybody's comments in the chat? My bad, guys. Corey Herman 8553. I don't know why these didn't pop up. Usually there's a little thing that notifies me. It says, where's was Diggs taken? Diggs was taken. We just went over that earlier. Team 10. Yeah. Team 10 took him in the 9th round there. So there you go. As he just signs with the Commanders. So again, he gets Evans. He has his own concerns. He's got the hammy already or whatever he's got. The quad injury. He was hurt last year. Again, 1,000 yards every single year except for last year. But now you got this freaking substation. Which I do think there is something to that. I think there's some science behind that. With the Wi-Fi and stuff and the electrical. Affects the soft tissue and the, metabolic health. And so I do think there's something to that. DK Metcalf is not the strongest number 2, obviously. Golden could take a step up. Diggs, it's a good. So he got some good depth picks there. Coker could be nice. I like Stribling. So I kind of like, again, I like what he did with his receivers, but Diggs goes there in the 9th. Thanks, Corey. Sorry for getting to your question late. The Smitty says Wilson or Harrison Jr. I'm going, this was at 103, so 16 minutes ago. Wilson, I'm going Wilson, man. I like the discount on Wilson. I think Michael Wilson is a hell of a receiver. Contested catches, throw it up to him, he comes down with it. He plays ferocious. You know who he kind of reminds me of? Like a Hines Ward type player. That's who he kind of reminds me of. So, you get LaFleur, who's with McVay, Puka, like he fits Puka way more than Marvin Harrison does. So I like Wilson. I've been drafting a ton of them. The last couple of drafts, I haven't been getting them. Sometimes you just got to just say, I'm just going to keep taking them. But you could get burnt because the guy gets hurt and then you're screwed. But if he doesn't get hurt and he pops off, now all your teams have this stud and you're making the right pick where he was taken, and you could, early on, you would get him like 7th, 8th, 9th round. Now he's going into the 6th. It seems like, Carson Beck, people were concerned, that was the big narrative was when Jacoby Brissett goes bye-bye, Carson Beck's got to take over and the whole offense goes to shit. And then Carson Beck looks good yesterday. And now, now we're seeing Wilson bump up a little bit. But, I didn't like Harrison in his rookie year when he went to the first round, but 3rd year now, Harrison's crafty. He's skilled. He's a technician. Can he dominate in the NFL like he did in college? I don't think so, obviously, but he could still be a very nice receiver in this league. Did he deserve to be the number 1 receiver taken overall? Probably not. His motor, he needs to play a little bit more aggressive and with a little more energy, but I still feel like is your 3rd receiver. I don't mind it. I just like the value with Wilson better. Corey also says Parker Washington looking like the wide receiver on the Jags. Now, that's what, we talked about that earlier. Certainly feels like Lawrence fits with Parker. Just like Amon-Ra and Goff. And, or J-Mo is the secondary guy. Despite J-Mo being an elite talent, we won't say elite, but, an exceptional, different type of talent. J-Mo runs at a speed that, few others can do. And it's the same thing with BTJ. Again, this guy led college football in touchdowns with 18 when Neighbors was there. He had a remarkable rookie season. He's an excellent deep threat. He'll beat the defense deep all the time. You throw it up to him, he'll come down with it. It's just that they tried to utilize him early on last year across the middle and the ways in Cohen's offense, and it just wasn't working. And they, Hunter kind of unleashed that over the middle role. Then they bring in Jacoby Myers. Then Hunter gets hurt. They bring in Jacoby Myers. And then Parker Washington has that real strong stretch at the end of the year. And you saw flashes from Parker Washington in past regimes when he was on the team. And he just never really got a full shot. He kind of was just like playing when everybody else got hurt. And all the reports are, it's Lawrence and Parker. So I don't know. I haven't been drafting Parker Washington because, I get kind of scared by the small sample that we saw last year. And, Hunter's still there. and Myers, and BTJ could take more of a bigger role. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to think of the Jaguars. Now, I do think Parker Washington is going to be the guy to start at least the year, but I think it could change at some point. I think so. I think that's the danger with Parker Washington. So I think it might start like that, and then it may change where maybe we're seeing more Myers across the middle, or him mixing in with Parker, and then maybe Travis Hunter, if he's healthy, he's mixing in, and he's taking some reps away because he was hurt last year. He got knocked out for the year. Again, he had that 100-yard game. He unlocked that whole thing with Lawrence across the middle that he finished so strong with down the stretch. And then, maybe BTJ does have a better role this year. Like, maybe him and Lawrence have a better connection this year. So that could take away from Parker. So I don't know. I get a little bit nervous about, buying in on Parker fully. I think he's a good quality player. I think he's solid. He's good after the catch. He breaks tackles. I think they're going to feature him. They want to pay him, supposedly. But I don't know. I feel like maybe you saw what happened in that Bills game. Lawrence got picked twice. Could have got picked a couple times more. Maybe defenses adjust. They start taking away the middle, and then Lawrence is forced to, start throwing down the boundaries more to Thomas. Maybe they start running the ball more. Maybe Lawrence is struggling. We've only seen like Lawrence, was that his coming out party last year? It still was some of a small sample because, he was like the glorified, number one pick. But up until like really last year, he wasn't living up to it, down the stretch, but he kind of seemed to really turn it on. So it's like, can he continue that into this year? And it really does seem like he should be able to, considering he's got the coach. He's got all the talent he could possibly want around him. So the environment is completely there. It's going to be his second year in the system. So it all seems to make sense. So I think I have to start taking some Parker Washington at the end of the day. I have taken a little BTJ. Jacoby Myers, I feel like is a good depth piece. He's more of a best ball play. I feel like all these Jags guys could be a little bit better in best ball. They're going to be kind of harder to guess on in redraft and be a little bit inconsistent. Like Brian Thomas might have a couple of good weeks, and then Jacoby Myers may have a couple of good weeks. Parker Washington, probably the most consistent guy, but he might have some frustrating games. So I don't know if his price is too much, but I still want to get a little bit of him because I picked him up in Dynasty like 2-3 years ago because I did like the way he looked. I just don't know. Maybe I just feel like maybe the hype is getting a little bit out of control with Parker sometimes. So I'm not all the way there yet, but I will take some of him. And then, Travis Hunter, I've been taking late because the guy's an elite talent, second overall pick. I mean, I just feel like if they put him in the Parker Washington role, he could just do it, just as good, if not better than Parker Washington. I mean, again, he showed it last year. So, if they had some injuries to Jacoby Myers or Brian Thomas, he steps in and who the hell knows? I don't know. Maybe Hunter has a big role in this offense at some point. So those are some of the concerns I have. But at the end of the day, if you're thinking fully logically about it and, all things are positive, and you're thinking positively about it, then this Jaguars offense should have a nice year because of the coaching and all the weapons they have. And, the progression that we did see from Lawrence, and for fantasy, even if he's throwing some picks and, missing some throws, he's still going to put up good numbers. I would, it's going to be hard for him not to, between, throwing wise, but also rushing too, because he did run pretty nice last year too. So, I don't know. It's still a small sample. So there's other guys I prefer, but if I had to have Trevor Lawrence and Parker Washington on my team, I'm not going to be devastated by it. Obviously, I think it's a solid thing to have. It's just I prefer other options. But to answer your question, man, it really does look like Parker Washington. And then Smitty, there you go. So I appreciate the question, guys. Sorry I got it a little late there. I was doing the draft. I didn't see the notifications Shout out to Brommel early on asking what draft it was. It is the Night Owl on NFFC, 350 entry, 12-team league, playing for a grand prize of $300,000 against 4,800 teams total. So you win your league. You finish top 2 in your league. You go to the championship round. They take your average score from weeks 1 to 14. You start with that number as your beginning number, and then your cumulative total from weeks 15, 16, 17 against all the other the top 2 guys from all the other 12-team leagues. But check it out, NFFC.com. Tons of good leagues. Everything you need there. So they do a great job. And that's that. All right. Team 11, then my team. We'll get the hell out of here. Hour 16. We'll keep this baby under an hour and a half. All right. Team 11, CeeDee Lamb, Kenneth Walker, Ibuka. All right. Ibuka in the third. He goes in the second a lot of the time. So that's solid. Not as many sharks in here tonight. So he's falling, but I like this start. I like this start by Team 11. He gets Cam, who had a minor injury today, but he seems fine. Everybody was freaking out because, he was stretching his leg out and he left practice. But it sounds like it's minor. He's okay. Then he gets Devontae Adams and Michael Wilson. We already talked about Michael Wilson. Devontae Adams, I feel like, again, he could be 49 years old and still school guys, and you get 10 touchdowns if you just run 3-yard routes, quick little setup on the goal line. Then he gets Joe Burrow as his quarterback, no stack there, but again, Joe Burrow could throw 50 touchdowns this year if all things fall right. Jacoby Myers, we talked about him. I think that's a solid 5th receiver. Rashid Shaheed's solid 6th. Shakir's a solid 7th. Harvey's a decent 3rd. Vidal, I think, and Kamara, that's building pretty good depth there. Even Ollie Gordon and Jalen Wright is not bad combo. So, I think his 3rd running back's a little bit shaky, considering he's drafted 2 injury risk running backs. But still solid. And tight end, he gets Chig and Hunter Henry, not the strongest. Chig gets hurt a little bit by Diggs this year. And then he gets Danny Jones. So, yeah, not bad. I would probably say that, probably like Duke's team. Frost, I thought, did a pretty good job. Gamberg, obviously, I like. Teams 5 and 6 were a little wonky for me. 6 a little wonky, right? Yeah. Team 4, I think I like Team 4. Yeah, I like Team 4. I like what he did. Team 8. Yeah, Team 8, I like what he did. Team 10. Yeah, Team 10. Again, the receivers aren't the strongest, but I like the picks he made. And Team 11, not bad either. All right, my team from the 12 hole and a 3rd round reversal. First time I was in the 12 hole. I've been working mostly up from the front, a little bit in the middle, or towards the back end, but haven't had any 10, 11, 12. This is my first 12. So again, you get the first pick in the 3rd round and the 3rd round reversal. So I go Brown, Genty, first shares of both. Zay Flowers, J-Mo, Christian Watson. I like that. Jalen Warren as my 3rd running back. I could have took a receiver there. But again, it's Pittman, it's Downs. I just like Jalen Warren. He's like a receiver in himself. So, and it just gives me a little bit more depth at running back. And then I get Harold Fannin, who I've been missing out on, so I wanted to grab him. Jaden Higgins, I like him, my first share. Kenneth Gainwell, had a hell of a year last year in Pittsburgh. And then, I got the Warren, who's replacing Gainwell. And then Justin Herbert, I clicked on that by accident. But again, I told this story how the last time I got him by accident, it worked out. So I went with it. And then I stacked them with Trey Harris and Rondé Gadsden. And then I get Casey Concepcion. I liked how he fell to me there. Jared Goff to go with J-Mo. And also I take Isaac Tesla, Gadsden to go with Trey Harris. I'm not a big Gadsden guy, but it fits the build. And then I get Sean Tucker as another depth piece at running back. Only 5 running backs, but I feel like I have strong enough running backs. I didn't really need a ton of depth. I could always pick up guys if I need. And I have 2 of those Tampa Bay running backs. So, if Bucky wears down, or if one of these guys is like the 1A, the 1B to Bucky's 1A, then I got him. So I like that. And then I get Zachariah Branch, who I've talked about a lot on this show. Really like his talent. Cliff Branch obviously was his uncle. Talked about that. I like his athletic profile. He's quick. He's a hard worker. Left USC because the gym facility, the facilities there weren't up to par for him, so that's why he went to Georgia. And all the reports have been very solid on him in camp. He reminds me of a Jalen Waddle type, Tyreek type player. He's got some of those abilities in him. And he fits Tua and Penix, noodle arms as well, especially Tua. Dump down city. I think they're going to work him in. I think they're going to work him into the offense, and he doesn't have much to compete with. Jahan Dotson, Zacchaeus, Steelers D. Give me some TJ Watt and Joey Porter Jr. I'm good with that. Jacoby Lane, this kid, another USC receiver, big body. You watch his tape, very impressive. Snatches everything. Strong hands. I guess the one knock on him is he's not good against press, but impressive. And I think Des Bryant was really talking him up as one of his favorite receivers too. But I just remember watching some of his tape from last year, and I was impressed. So Lamar could use a guy like that. So you got Bateman there, and you got Surratt, who they drafted. You got to compete with Henry and Andrew. So it is crowded there. It's just kind of a flyer pick. I could have went with another tight end there. Gunnar Helm is a guy I've been taking. There was a report today that Daniel Bellinger is going to be the guy in the building over Helm because of the familiarity with Dable. I don't know how much I buy that. I feel like Gunnar Helm's the better player. But there is a couple more tight ends on the wire that I could pick up. I'm not truly happy about Gatson as my second tight end, but again, it fits the build, and I have Harry Fannin, who I expect to be a strong one. And then I get the Broncos kicker, the altitude there. All right. That is it. Nobody else in the chat. An hour 23 on the Midnight Owl here on April 8th, 2026, Saturday night. Now it is Saturday, early morning rather. So everybody have a great weekend. We're going to have a lot more preseason games coming up. So I think we're going to, on the channel, we have Monday night, Josh, Dan have another guest. Then Wednesday, we're going to be doing that tag team draft again. Thursday's division preview. Live draft still going. You never know when I pop up for one of these. So make sure you guys are following the show. Appreciate everybody, staying with us. Follow me on X as well at Fantasy Savvy. Again, like, subscribe, and share. And that's it. Do I have anything else to say? If you guys have any other comments, if not, I'm going to get out of here. And that's it. If you could tell me what this line, what movie it's from. The German says to wait here. If you could tell me what movie it's from, I'll send you a $10 gift certificate to Walmart. All right. That's it, guys. Take care. I'll see you soon.